So today's lesson is on the distributive property. We use the distributive property to simplify algebraic expressions and to solve equations. The formal definition says that for any numbers a, b, and c, c times the quantity a plus b equals ac plus bc. What we know about the distributive property is that if we have a number on the outside of a parenthesis, and let's say that we have a variable and another number on the inside of the parenthesis, we know that when we distribute, we actually multiply. I draw arrows to show what I'm multiplying, but I take 7, that number on the outside, times the terms on the inside. 7 times x is 7x, and 7 times a positive 7 is positive 49. Sometimes you will see the distributive property written with the term that you're multiplying or distributing through written on the outside. The same concept. Outside number times the two numbers on the inside gives you 6a plus 24. And yes, often you ask questions in class like, hey, Mrs. Bischoff, can we rewrite that? Most definitely. I choose to always move this term to the front, which would give me 6 times a plus 4, because that just helps my brain process it. You still get the same result, okay? So today we are going to use the distributive property. So anytime I use the distributive property, I draw arrows to simplify what operation is taking place. 3 times 2, which is 6, and 3 times 5, which is 15. 6 plus 15 equals 21. Or for an algebraic expression, 5 times g and 5 times negative 9 gives me 5g minus 45. So at this time, I'm going to ask you to pause the video. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to complete both example number 2s for the numeric example and the algebraic example. So you go ahead and complete both of those using the distributive property, and then unpause the video to check your answer. So hopefully when you simplified the numeric example using the distributive property, you ended up with 36 minus 28, which simplifies to 8. And when you use the distributive property to simplify the algebraic example, you ended up with 6x squared plus 12x minus 3. So another way to simplify the distributive or use the distributive property is called the box method. It's just a visual way to, I guess instead of using the arrows. So you take the number on the outside, put it on the outside, and then each term goes in the box. 4 times x, 4x, 4 times 3 is 12. You distribute and you add them up. 3 would go on the outside, and then each term on the inside, remembering that the sign in front of the term goes along with the number. 3 times 2 is 6. That gives me 6x squared. 3 times 4 is 12x minus 3. I don't care what method you use, whether you choose to use the box method or you like drawing the arrows. I prefer using the arrows, and that's how I will always show my work. But remember, with math, I show you different methods so that way you can decide what method works best for you. So I do have a word problem. The Hernandez family owns 2 cars. In 2009, they drove the first car 18,000 miles and the second car 16,000 miles. If it costs 65 cents on average per mile to own and operate a vehicle, find the total cost of operating both cars. So we know that it costs 65 cents on average per mile. They drove the first car for 18,000 miles, and they drove the second car for 16,000 miles. So when I find the cost, I'm actually going to distribute the 0.65 times 18,000 and the 0.65 times 16,000. We're talking about money. That's why I turned that cents into a point, a decimal to the hundredths place. So 0.65 times 18,000 equals 11,700. And 0.65 times 16,000 equals 10,400. When I add 10,400 plus 11,700, I get $22,100. So that is the cost for operating two cars in the year 2009. So these two cars, that's what the Hernandez family spent on operating these two cars. I have one more example for you. Actually, these are a you do. So I want you again to work these 4 examples out. So pause the video, work these 4 out, and then come back and check. And that'll be a great check before you do your homework so you know that you're ready to go. All right. So when you completed your 4 examples using the distributive property, you should have had 72 minus 12, which ends up being 60, 8 plus 2t for number 2. Number 3 is 12g plus 8. And number 4, you should have simplified to 15x squared minus 12x plus 3. I do want to draw your attention to this. Sometimes you think that you can combine 15x squared and that negative 12x, but remember, this is to the second power. This is actually to the first power, so these cannot be combined together, all right? So for your homework today, you actually just have a lesson check. It is a 5-question quiz in Canvas. You're going to complete the lesson check and show me that you understand the distributive property. Good luck.